What else?
300
300
70. I'm sorry, 70544.
44. Okay. National Institutes of Medicine, racial discrimination and cortisol in African American emerging results. Okay, what are the sources for this? Since you're on it as well, let's look at the
Yeah,
sources.
the sources are listed in the references. So if you want to
Tell
see
me
the
it.
exact
Tell me
sources,
it.
you're on the page,
No, no,
right?
no. No. I'm letting you take control of this because you want to be in control so bad. What are the sources?
You sure the reference page is listed. There's multiple
What is
sources.
it?
Okay. First source, number one, Adam E.K. Emotions, cortisol transactions occur over multiple times the scales development. This comes from the the monograph of Society for Research in Child Development. The next one is from a 20-year perspective study. The actual listing is on PubMed. The next one is from from Error SM. Oh, this is a
Santana.
multitude of people that did the
Santana.
actual
Do you
study.
see why I don't ever like to debate articles? Because
Bro, you
hold on. Let
literally
me speak. Let me speak.
wait.
Let me speak. You're
Yo,
not letting
stop
me speak. You're
fucking
not
muting
letting me
me.
speak.
You
Because you're not letting me speak. I will keep muting you if you don't let me speak.
you're a fucking
Let me
coward.
speak. See? This is not debate. This is
You
not how
didn't
you
you
debate.
didn't even let
Go ahead. Keep chimping out. Keep chimping out.
you're a coward.
Yeah. Sure. See? I'm not going to bring up people who can't debate. There's a difference between debating and actually trying to prove a point and then just rage baiting and getting mad. I ask him, hey, what are the sources? He's like, bro doesn't even know his fucking sources. He doesn't know anything. How are you supposed to debate someone when all they do is, hey, bro, look at this random article by this random dude? But he has a degree. Okay, where is the person with the degree getting this information? How are they getting this information? Any person that goes to college knows exactly how a majority of these papers written by biased individuals are, like I just said, biased. I cannot believe you, like some of you people actually think that that is a debate. I'm not going to sit here and say, you're a coward, you're a coward. I can't speak, that's not a debate. Bro, he was reading the sources. He was reading the names of people. That's not, a name of someone isn't a fucking source. I asked how if I do a medical study, are there that many people here who don't have fucking common sense? If I'm doing a medical study and someone asks me, hey, where are you getting these statistics from? Where are you getting this data from? And I go, well, David Lee. How is that helping anything? So I'm not going to debate people who can't debate for themselves. They got to hide behind a dude with a PhD who gets his information from biased sources. If I gather 12 people, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, like I said, anyone who goes to college knows this is exactly how it goes. If I get a group of 12 individuals and I tell them, hey, I'm going to do a study. It's a private study. I have a PhD. It's going to be listed on a website. You know how easy it is to, by the way, to list this shit on websites, right? If I gather 12 people and I say, hey, I'm doing a study. I want you to go into these neighborhoods and tell me how you feel. Tell me what it makes you feel. You don't think there's a chance I can just go in there and say, you know what? Did you feel your cortisol levels rising? And they say, yes, I did. Okay, I'm going to make note of that. You know what's the hilarious part about this too? Is that we somehow went from arguing about my original point to somehow arguing about a fucking paper. I don't give a shit about a paper. What does it have to do with my point? What the fuck does that have to do with my point? Hello? Can anyone explain that? What does anything about high cortisol levels in Black Americans going into white neighborhoods have to do with anything I have to say? What a waste of, like, what is that, 5 minutes? And the funny thing is, when you try to call these people out on common sense, when you try to say, hey, you're not really debating, you have an agenda that you're trying to push through me. Because what are we arguing about? He's like, well, you think something about IQ. Well, I didn't say anything about IQ, bro. Like, what is he talking about? Let me get somebody else up here. AB. All right, next yes.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. So I've been on this live ever since the IQ discussion, and that's why I initially wanted to join.
Yeah.
But first, I'd like to bring up that paper that we were discussing earlier. So it actually no, we don't have to, but essentially, my point is that they actually found lower cortisol if you actually read the study.
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding, bro. You know what? Everybody that's in this chat trying to say, oh, I lost, whatever, just keep going ahead, copy and pasting the last comment. I'm gonna take a read at this and I'll do the same live tomorrow at the same time, 11 p.m. PST. And I'm gonna read the entire thing, I'm gonna study it. And if what he said was true.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. That is hilarious.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, I apparently can't leave my phone if I do that, but
No,
essentially the correlation between the percentage of white neighbors and the cortisol values had an R value of negative 0.17, which means there's actually a negative trend for the cortisol as Black young adults essentially moved into whiter neighborhoods.
Okay, but here's the thing too, or again, I don't want to cut you off, but like here's the thing.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't give a fuck about this, bro. This is not my argument. I don't know why people thought that was such a W. He's coming in and he's teaching me on it. You know how easy it is to just come in alive and throw a fucking article that has nothing to do about what I'm saying and saying,
Exactly.
yeah, you don't know anything about the argument, bro. Get owned. The fuck I don't. I don't give a shit about that. I don't give a shit about cortisol levels and shit like that. What the fuck does that have to do with my point?
Totally.
That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of these people, bro, they just come on here. I swear, a lot of these political talking heads are the biggest cancer to our space. They exist just to divide people on bullshit politics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the broader point they were trying to make was obviously that, like, you know, Black fatigue is felt by Black people, just like experiencing discrimination from white people. And that definitely does exist to a large degree within the community. But that being said, there is a lower cortisol. The authors assume that that's due to a negative feedback loop through the HPA pituitary, like hypothalamic axis. But that could also just be that they're experiencing less stress. So, I mean, it's really hard to even make conclusions about that. And let's say their cortisol was elevated. It could have been from, let's say, like just upward mobility stress, or like having more education, maybe working a harder job, which allowed them to move into more affluent neighborhoods. So there's a lot of different things that could have came from that. But
I don't even know, because my point has nothing to do with cortisol levels and African Americans moving into white neighborhoods. And a lot of people in the comments are like, well, it rebuttals your point. What is my point? A lot of people saying that don't even know my point. Like, no, that dude didn't even know what the fuck my argument was. I'm like, do you even know what I think? And he's like, yeah, you think IQ is, I don't think shit about IQ. All I said was IQ can't be passed down. This guy doesn't even know what I think.
Yeah.
80% of the comments right now don't even know my point.
So I can debate you on that if you'd like. So I want to give you a little bit of background. I am actually someone who studied biomedical sciences and physics in undergrad, but right now I'm working in the organ transplant field. But essentially, whenever it comes to the IQ and genetics, I think stance that you're taking is a very like cultural relativistic stance where essentially all people are blank slates, like you said, and that it's mostly entirely due to environmental, like, conditioning that causes us to have different outcomes in our ability. Now, although that definitely is true to a certain extent, the overall like consensus on this is that IQ is broadly considered to be around 60 to 80% genetic. Whenever we have twin studies where they're separated at birth and then raised by different foster parents of different socioeconomic statuses, you'll find that essentially the poorer kids do have a lower IQ starting off, but once they reach adulthood, they tend to have a correlation around zero 0.8, which is essentially meaning that it's almost as similar as if the same person took the IQ test twice. And then another thing is that for sure you can like decrease a person's IQ by, let's say, poor nutrition, early childhood abuse, or maybe even like fostering the child and giving them as much like, confidence as possible. All those things definitely do play a large role, but at the same time, it's not 100% one way or the other. But yeah, that's essentially my take on that. If you'd like to debate any of that, then that's fine.
No, I think that's a take that I can, agree with. I think a person's character, you're not born with a certain character. Just like you're not born speaking English, you have to be taught English. So character, and I also want to point out a lot of the comments are talking about, well, you're letting him speak. It's because he's actually having a conversation. You'd be surprised what happens when you actually have someone who's talking and it's from their own thoughts. I can tell this is his own thoughts. He's not, trying to spew a biased argument or from a fucking paper he hasn't even read. He doesn't even know the sources of. He's actually speaking from what he knows and what he believes in. And he's not just saying, oh, you're a bum or you don't know what you're talking about. He's actually bringing up a fucking point. So I just want to point that out. But anyways, I agree with that because it's like I said, the same way you have to teach a child English is the same thing that, and it's not like parents teach their kids certain things with like that they know they're teaching them. Like every day is a learning moment for a child's development, right?